I'm going to gavel you. All right, I'd like to go ahead and start our meeting. I just didn't want to gavel and while the poor city manager was still standing up, but it's all good now. Welcome to the joint meeting of the Cotati City Council and the successor agency to the former Cotati Community Development Agency on Tuesday, April 24. And if we could have roll call, please.
Councilmember Skillman?
Here.
Councilmember Moore?
Here.
Vice Mayor Deloso?
Here.
Councilmember Harvey?
Here.
And I'll show Mayor Landman as absent.
Great, thank you very much. And while we're here with introductions of City Council, I'd like to introduce city staff that's here. We have Damien Obid, our city manager, Robin Donahue, our city attorney, Vicki Parker, the Director of Community Development, Norm Veloso, our Director of Administrative Services. It's kind of embarrassing I'm making these guys wave. You know, you can, but you don't have to. You're not committed to that. Craig Scott, Director of Public Works and our city engineer. He just gave a nod. That was better. Good. Chief Michael Parrish. And as I like to call her sometimes, the Wizard of Oz, makes everything happen, Lauren Burgess, our Deputy City Clerk. All right.
Is she behind the curtain?
She is behind the curtain. And if we could get everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we are now at item 4, which is approval of minutes and notice of waiving of reading of all resolutions and/or ordinances.
Move to approve. I'd second.
On the minutes. Oh, please then, yep, come up, Mr. Barrich.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. For the benefit of the audience, my name is George Barrich. I'm a former city councilman here. Regarding the minutes, Council, I'd like to bring to your attention, it might be wise to add to the minutes that the video streaming recording from the last meeting doesn't play properly. We put it, I put in a couple messages to the city clerk to see if she can rectify that. But if you can please make mention that we have no video recording for the last city council meeting. It stops at about 58 minutes, right before citizens' business, where things got a little bit interesting. It stops. So if you can make that.
Can I clarify?
Yes, sir.
I mean, so are you saying that absolutely nothing played or?
Nothing plays after 58 minutes.
Really? Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you. Duly noted. And again, here at item 4, and we do have, we're going to take 2 motions on this because we have the regular meeting of April 10 and the special meeting of April 17. So.
Okay. Do you want 2 motions then?
Please.
Okay, I'll do the first motion, then I'll take back my other motion. Move to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of April 10th, 2018. And second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you.
And now I make a motion to approve the minutes for the special meeting of April 17th, 2018.
Second.
Further discussion? None. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, okay, it will pass 4-0-1. And we will move on to item 5, which is announcements. Meeting orientation for new attendees and viewers. In conformance with the Brown Act and the adopted City Council rules, the meeting agenda includes items labeled as action items, where the City Council will consider the item and citizens are afforded the opportunity to provide comments relevant to the item being discussed. The meeting agenda also includes a citizens' business item, which is the designated place on the agenda where citizens have the right to say whatever they wish. The City Council may or may not choose to respond to comments as the government code allows. However, if the City Council declines to respond, it should not be perceived as giving credence or agreeing with any statements that the City Council or its members believe are incorrect, misinformed, or purposefully biased. The City of Cotati has special open office hours on Monday evenings from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. by appointment in the Community Development Department at City Hall as part of its Cotati Open for Business program. The program provides personalized assistance and information to developers, current Cotati business owners, and those interested in starting a new business within the city. The Roanoke Park Cotati Regional Library hosts events for all ages, including art exhibits, book clubs, and children's programs. All events are free and open to the public. For more information, call the library at 584-9121 or visit www.sonomalibrary.org. The Cotati Historical Society Museum is open regularly the second Tuesday of each month from 5 to 7 p.m., Saturdays from 1 to 4 p.m., and by appointment. For more information, you can call 794-0305. Citizens interested in receiving City of Cotati community alerts via text or email are encouraged to sign up at nixle.com, and that is NIXLE.com. The city offers a variety of recreation programs for all ages. See details on the web at cotaticity.org. And we now have a series of proclamations, and we'll go through them one at a time. And after each, we'll afford the people who are here to accept the proclamation comments if they'd like, and if there's any questions from council. So the first one is recognizing the 25th anniversary of the Community Voice. Whereas the Community Voice was established on February 3rd, 1993, and for 25 years has been enhancing our community by providing stable and trustworthy services throughout Sonoma County. And whereas the Community Voice is a family-owned and operated business in Roanoke Park. In 2003, the Shaw family became the owners of the Community Voice and molded together a talented team of individuals to strengthen their publication. And whereas the Community Voice has played a vital role in promoting news throughout Sonoma County and serves as one of the leading sources of up-to-date information for our families, community leaders, and business owners all across Sonoma County. And whereas the articles found in the Community Voice are meant for the betterment of our neighborhoods because it allows its readers to seek practical solutions for the problems affecting our community. And whereas the Community Voice is one of the largest community newspapers in Sonoma County with over 8,000 copies in circulation each week, which are hand-delivered to homes and businesses every Friday, free of charge. And whereas in the past 5 years, the Community Voice has donated over $200,000 in monetary and advertising support to local nonprofit organizations and events. And whereas the Community Voice educates and inspires its readers with its remarkable articles on the local community, sports, lifestyle, and more. And whereas the residents of Roanoke Park, Cotati, and Pengrove highly value the Community Voice for its strong integrity and thoughtful articles, which has led to a loyal following and made the Community Voice one of the most popular newspapers in Sonoma County. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the City Council of the City of Cotati hereby recognizes the 25th anniversary of the Community Voice and commends the newspaper for its rich contributions to our residents. And I believe we have some representatives here who are welcomed, I should say, to come up to the front. Don't fight amongst yourselves. There'll be plenty of time.
No, you said it all, so I don't have much to say. You really don't want to give publisher of the newspaper a microphone, but you'll be here all night listening.
Well, it's probably true. Thank you, Yatin, for that.
But thank you very much for this honor, and we appreciate that. It's been 25 years, long, hard work, and we lost one of the very key person in our organization, George Snyder, which everybody is aware of it. Hopefully, we'll find somebody to replace him at least 50% of the way what he used to do. So that's about our hope, and we hope to continue serving communities of Cotati, Pengrove, Roanoke Park for next 25 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Irene, did you want to say some words?
I've been with the Community Voice. I signed on February the 3rd, 1993. Met this gentleman, and I've enjoyed it.
She did, yes.
Yeah, I had to swallow when I said it. I've enjoyed every moment. I did take a hiatus of 7 years, but Mr. Shaw asked me to come back 3.5 years ago. I am one of the writers, along with Catherine, who's our person back there taking notes. And we couldn't have done this paper without the community, the businesses, and all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from, or comments from council members? I'll start with Councilmember Skillman. Any questions or comments?
I just want to say thank you again for your contribution to our community and letting people know about events and happenings in the area, and then also keeping people plugged in with things that they can do as well to contribute to the community. So really appreciate your years of service and look forward to 25 more.
Councilmember Moore?
Congratulations on 25 years. I think you guys have been a torchlight for the area and information out there, and just a lifeline for the community. And I think everybody really appreciates what you do. And I think you've done a tremendous job, and I do look forward to continuing. Thank you.
Councilmember Harvey?
Yes, I've enjoyed the paper for the last 25 years. I appreciate the service that you do for the community. I know you and your team gets involved in the community, and we really appreciate that. And look forward to your next 25 years. Keep it on going, and thank you for providing such a good resource.
So as you may know, when we do these proclamations, and this is for the other two proclamations that are coming shortly, that we always come up front and take a photograph. So, Catherine, you're either taking the photo or you're going to be in it. You have to decide, but we'll meet you right over here. Okay, everybody, this is it. Right. Okay, we're going to move into our next proclamation here. And this is a proclamation of the City Council of the City of Cotati, recognizing April 2018 as Children's Memorial Flag Day throughout Sonoma County in memory of children who have died by violence. Whereas throughout America, tragic cases of violence against children occur frequently and senselessly, destroy innocent lives, and devastate families. And whereas the people of the City of Cotati believe in the celebration of life, diversity, and hope for the future through our children, and deplore and condemn acts of violence committed upon the children of our communities. And whereas MOVES, which stands for Minimizing Occurrences of Violence in Everyday Society, and the Sonoma County Human Services Department are committed to raising individual and public consciousness of the need to care for all our children and to honor young lives lost. And whereas MOVES has acquired a children's memorial flag from the Child Welfare League of America, which has become a recognizable symbol of the need to do a better job of protecting children, and which is sponsoring a national effort to memorialize child victims, and which has been adopted in other California communities. And whereas it is urged to all citizens to increase their participation in efforts to prevent child abuse and child death, thereby strengthening the communities in which we live. Now therefore, be it proclaimed on this 24th day of April 2018 that the City Council of the City of Cotati does hereby proclaim the fourth Friday in April as Children's Memorial Day, and be it further proclaimed that the Children's Memorial flag be flown for the month of April by the City of Cotati and for a week whenever a child dies by violence in the City of Cotati in remembrance of young lives cut short by senseless violence. And this evening we actually have a former multiple-time mayor, Richard Cullinan, who, if you could come up and if you would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Certainly that proclamation had an ominous ring to it, you know, since we actually put this together, actually Judge Arnold Rosenfield put this together over 20 years ago. You know, the levels of violence in America were omnipresent, but they, you know, today, you know, there's a concern, and people are concerned from coast to coast about the levels of violence. And I saw that already in the first 4 months of this year, we've already had 20 school shootings. And the culture of America and gun violence, and actually, when this began, you know, with child abuse, we were thinking more of domestic occurrences within the home, child beatings, but you know, now it's guns, you know. So anyway, we're doing what we can to help the community have an awareness of, you know, about what, you know, I think a lot of people are actually really wanting to have some sort of solution handed to them as to what we can do. How can any of us affect what's going on today? So we do what we can, you know, in terms of our organization, and many of the people that are on this committee, there's about 7 or 8 of us on the board. We have a number of other community members as well, but most of those people are very busy, so, you know, we're limited as to what we can do. But this is a beginning, and, you know, in October we have an annual meeting where we recognize 1 or 2 individuals within the community that are working toward a culture of peace and nonviolence. So anyway, I do have some brochures if anybody's interested in taking any of those. So so thank you very much for actually issuing this proclamation. I certainly appreciate it, and we've gone throughout the county, all the other various city councils, and yeah. So anyway,
Well, thank you.
any questions about?
That's my line. I know, it's fine. I get it. It's old habits die hard.
Yeah.
Councilmember Harvey, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions, but I do have comment. Really appreciate the work that you do with the most vulnerable population
Yes.
of our communities. It is always just heartbreaking whenever a child passes. So I know that that's not easy on people to deal with that, and really, really appreciate it takes a special person to be able to help with that, and really appreciate all that you've done. I know you've been doing it for a very long time. I've seen you come before us on this for probably the whole 20 years, it seems like, but thank you.
We actually got this rolling, Susan, that maybe I said this last year at Cafe Louise, where we all packed in there for a general, what do they call it? General mayors and council members meeting in Cafe Louise, and got that thing going right there. That's where it all started 20-something years ago.
Yep. Councilmember Moore, any comments?
No, I think it's great that you keep it out there so that there's an awareness and an understanding and maybe a compassion for those unfortunate situations. It's not an easy job, and it's such a horrific thing to even have to have this as a subject. But it's appreciated that you're out there helping to bring awareness and recognition to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Skillman?
Just to echo what everybody else has been saying too, thank you for the work, and I know it's difficult to deal with such a tragic situation on a daily basis, and to stay positive, but so much of it I think has to do with education and letting people know better ways of dealing with their own frustrations, and so anyway, thank you for the continued good work.
Yeah, thank you. Conflict resolution, Wendy, yeah.
I agree with everything that's been set up here. Certainly, I think awareness is the key. You know, this is a very small step that the city is taking right here tonight, but it's awareness nonetheless. And I think the more awareness there is, you know, maybe we can someday find some kind of a solution for this. I mean, honestly, I'm thinking about my childhood when I was in school, and I would go to school. I didn't fear this, but I mean, the fear was, ooh, somebody might be smoking a cigarette or something. And now look what the kids of today have to deal with. They're afraid to go to school because they're afraid somebody could have a gun and they could get shot and killed, or their friends could. And it's a horrific situation. So I really hope there can be change, and change will come in part by awareness. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Photo time.
Oh, okay.
Do we have to do pictures every time?
Yeah. So we have one more proclamation before I lose my voice. I think I'm going to get this one in, but
Oh, but wait a minute, you got somebody who wants to speak.
yes, Ms. Alderman, please.
I was wondering if the council and the city could look into doing some kind of memorial for the children died by violence in the city. I have a friend who was a teenager, and they still live here. Mr. Cindy Moreland died in the 80s. And then we have this young man who died at Sonoma State, and they've got over on West Sierra here, they've got a memorial, and it'd be just nice to have something to memorialize the people that have died by children have died by violence in Cotati. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Mr. Barrich?
Thank you, sir. That was a very nice proclamation. Some nice comments from the city council as well. I would like to clarify something. We shouldn't really get caught up in a lot of hype, and we do need to stick with facts. And many of us have done research on school shootings and so forth. And this year, for 2018, there have not been 20 school shootings that were intentional, malicious, and violent, and ended up with a lot of fatalities. That's a liberal myth. You can all Google it and find it for yourself. Many of those shootings were accidental shootings, guns that had gone off accidentally by security personnel and so forth. You can research it with CNN, MSNBC, and so forth. We don't need that kind of hype. And we must also remember that there are thousands of children who are scared to go to school each day because there is not adequate security at these schools to protect them from crazy people, okay? We have schools across this country who are delegating little baseball bats to teachers to defend their classrooms from mad, armed aggressors. There are buckets of rocks that teachers are bringing into class and asking their kids to throw rocks at gunmen. Okay, this is a complicated issue, and it's nothing to be trivialized, and we need to bring this into proper perspective. This is a huge issue, and there's people on both sides of that issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Seeing no one else, we will move to...
Mr. Mayor, may I make a comment?
Yes, you may.
I just have to clarify that I don't believe the former mayor, Mr. Cullinan, indicated that it was intentional or malicious. He said there was 20 shootings of violence. So just to clarify that, so it's not a liberal myth. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to our final proclamation of the night, and that is a knew that was going to happen. Proclamation of the City Council of the City of Cotati recognizing the annual 2018 Community Resilience Challenge. Whereas the Community Resilience Challenge is an annual springtime community mobilization campaign that has inspired thousands of individuals, leaders, and groups to take action to save water, grow food, conserve energy, reduce waste, and build community. And whereas the City of Cotati is concerned about the health and well-being of its residents and seeks to create a healthy, sustainable, and livable community. And whereas in 9 years of the annual Community Resilience Challenge, over 5,000 people across Sonoma County have committed to complete nearly 31,000 actions to save water, grow food, conserve energy, reduce waste, and build community. And whereas Daily acts as a key partner providing programs and services that educate residents, students, businesses, and community leaders about sustainable practices. And whereas the City of Cotati can achieve its climate goals by growing and eating fresh, local garden produce, greening its transportation, and creating energy and water efficient homes, businesses, schools, and communities. I'm not choking, I'm just very emotional here. It's great. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this 24th day of April, 2018, the City of Cotati commits to actively support the 2018 Community Resilience Challenge and its goal to inspire action to save water, grow food, conserve energy, reduce waste, and build community, and pledges to support the Community Resilience Challenge activities within the county and use county communications, media, and programming to promote the cultivation of healthy food, waste reduction, and energy and water efficiency. And Mr. DiMatteo is here this evening to accept this proclamation, so I'll turn it over to you first if you have any comments.
Yeah, in its 9th year, I believe last year my knees were shaking and I was quite terrified to come up here and accept this proclamation. And last year we had the opportunity to install about 1,000 square foot garden at Charles Street Village, which is thriving this year. This year we are working with Public Works to identify a new site to install another garden, but in general we're coming up on our 10th year in growing food, saving water, conserving energy, reducing waste, but more importantly, especially given the last proclamation, I think in the states we need to really just focus on building community. So one of the things we're asking a lot of our key partners as well as our longtime daily actors is to host a potluck, host a yard sale like the city of Cotati did recently. Really focus on those drivers to build community and share stories because all those tangible things of growing food and saving water, so on and so forth, those are best shared. During the drought, conservation, scarcity, all of these things that we need to hold in and keep our things as our own. I think we're in a new era where we can really get back to sharing and kind of recover the things that my grandparents did and their parents did and so on and so forth. So I'm truly humbled. I've been with Daily Acts for 2 years, and I recently was nominated as one of the Educators of the Year for the Roner Park and Cotati Rotary Groups. And I had the opportunity to talk to the person who nominated me, and he just went on a rant about the great relationship that we have with you folks. And I give it my all in all of our programs, talks, tours, workshops, so on and so forth. And if anybody's interested, this Friday, 10 to 12, we will be doing a garden day at Pocket Park, and by the end of this month, it'll be looking just fine. So thank you so much again, and it's a great honor, and hope to do it again next year for the 10th year.
Great, thank you, and congratulations on the nomination. That's well-deserved, well-deserved. I will throw in that my wife weeded the other side of the creek of Pocket Park.
And she's kicking butt. She's
I know. I don't know how
helping
she does
me on
it.
the other side.
It's amazing. But anyway, Councilmember Skillman, any comments or questions you may have?
Just thank you for your continued work, your continued work in the community, and also, like you were saying, building community, because it really does make a difference to be able to work side by side with another person to improve how things look in your community, and gives you a feeling of investment in it. So thank you very much for your continued hard work.
Thank you.
Councilmember Moore?
Dustin, thanks so much for all that you do and you put in on the various projects, and it's great to hear about the Charles Street Village. I hadn't heard about that one. Mm-hmm. Congratulations on your nomination. I was at that Rotary dinner. It was very moving. And I think it goes back to some of the other issues that we've had regarding proclamations. It's an awareness, and it's an education, and in this particular component, it is community building. So thank you for that, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harvey?
Echo what my fellow council members said, and we just planted our garden today, so and it looks like for some reason we're going to have a bumper crop of blueberries this year. I don't know whether it's the rain or when we got the rain, but yeah, our garden is.
Lucky you.
And yeah, some years are famine and some years are feast. So same with the peach tree. Some years we get peaches, some years we don't. But yeah, thank you, and thank you for educating people. And I do like your idea of maybe working with children. I think the children love to be in the garden. I know my grandkids, when we have, the little cherry tomatoes, they love to go to pick them. They love to pick the blueberries and the clementines and things like that. So yeah, it'd be great to get children involved.
Yeah, again, Dustin, thank you very much for the work, not only that you do, but also with Daily Acts. There's been some great things all over town and throughout the county. So I will warn Councilmember Harvey, there's a cold front coming through this weekend, so you might have thought twice about planting any things, but that's okay. You live and learn. But hang on for a photograph. We'll
Yes,
be
sir.
right there.
Thank you.
Last photo. Yeah.
Is it going to snow?
All right, we are now moving to item 7, presentations. Our representative from Sonoma State is not here this evening, so we'll go to item 8, which is approval of the final agenda. Do we have any changes?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. No changes for tonight.
Changes. All right, we are now at item 9, which is citizens' business, and I will put my glasses on so I can read this. Any member of the public wishing to speak to the council on any items listed on the consent calendar or any matter not listed on the agenda that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council may do so at this time. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the council is not allowed to consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda during this period. Pursuant to City Council Policy 2017-02, comments of any member of the public are normally restricted to a total of 3 minutes in length per person for matters not on the agenda, and a total of 3 minutes per person in length for any and all items on the consent calendar. The mayor may extend the time limit for a reasonable time where a disability accommodation has been requested. And do we have anyone for citizens' business? Ms. Alderman, your hand was up first, then I'll come way back to you.
I wanted to address that again, that the last council meeting, regular council meeting, at 58 minutes, it just stops playing. You can see the video, you can't do the audio. And I wrote every one of you, I wrote the city clerk, I wrote Damien, and I wrote you twice asking for an explanation or whether it could be corrected, and I never received a word. You guys need to be replying to me when I have a reasonable request. I asked whether it could be corrected. It is a public record, you know, and we're paying lots of money for this service contract, something like $10,000 to do these meetings, and then it doesn't play. You obviously need to go back onto the and find out what's the problem is, because that's unacceptable. And your response to me was unacceptable, that nobody, not one person, one of you bothered to check whether, how, why it happened. So I really appreciate you years not replied to my emails, but something like this deserved a response. I'd also like to bring up, as usual, weed abatement. This is the perfect time. We're getting into the summer. It's in the city code that we need to enforce it. Who knows if we're going to have another storm with all the, we had a lot of rain, we're not prepared. And it's a legal thing that if you guys for years did not enforce the weed abatement, it's going to come back on you guys. That when it's not the fire department, it's in your code as your responsibility. And so you guys need to really be working on preventing, and also tree maintenance. There's some 50-foot tall trees next to telephone poles in people's yards. I mean, there needs to be some safety measures taken for the benefit of the city, so we don't end up like Santa Rosa or, Coffee Park and all that. Well, Coffee Park wasn't, but Fountain Grove and everything, so that we have things in places for emergencies. Thank you.
Ms. Alderman, did you have anything for consent or no tonight?
I'll come back to that.
Okay, that's fine.
I didn't look at
That's fine.
consent.
No, not a problem. Ma'am, you had your hand up in the back. Please come up.
Good evening. I'm Helen Bradley. I'm from Santero Way. I'm speaking to the Santero Way parking issue. Just to bring everybody up to speed, we now have the Cotati station open. Santero Way has always been a problem with parking. Obviously, the station's on the corner. What's happening right now is that Roanoke Park is charging for parking, so the Cotati station car park is full to overflowing most days. At the moment, Roanoke Park, the other day I went, it was 22 out of 100 parks were being used. So obviously, because they're charging, everybody else is coming down to Cotati to do free parking. My concern is that if Cotati goes paid, either the station makes that move or council makes that move on the parking area that council is doing as part of that new building that is coming up. If they do that, there's a whole lot of people who are really familiar with the situation in Santoro Way and that there's off-street parking. There's on-street parking there. So there's very little on-street parking around Roanoke Park Station. So if you were looking for free parking, well, the obvious is to just keep coming to Cotati because you are already to get free parking. And if the station goes paid, then they're just going to come back on the street because it's nice and convenient, it's really handy. The situation obviously is that Santoro Way is under severe pressure in terms of parking, and it's not going to get any better, however much we would like to imagine it is, with the new buildings going up. So my concern is that with the new development coming up and with them being required to put in a parking management plan for the new development, that this is a window of opportunity for council to actually do something about the parking situation on Santoro Way and possibly look at residents parking there. I believe that it could probably be done through administration or staff, and when they're looking at that new proposal that the builder has to put in. I would be really interested in joining that conversation. I'm sure that the people who are on the HOA at Santoro Way would too. I am a member, but I'm not speaking as a member, so I just need to make that really clear. I'm here as an individual, as a citizen, as a owner of a building in that area. So I request that council look at the parking, particularly when we've got this window of opportunity. Right now it's free at Cotati Station. As soon as it became not free, we've got a crisis there, and I really would appreciate you guys just sort of going, yeah, this is the time to do something, and we're going to make it happen now, and I'm perfectly willing to be part of that conversation.
Great, thank you very much, appreciate it. Mr. Barrett, you had your hand up?
Council, I completely agree with Lori Alderman. It's quite evident that the council has treated her so terribly over the years. She's a taxpayer, and she deserves a little bit more respect. She deserves her calls answered, her questions answered, and so forth. And, you know, thank God you're not doing this to somebody else who might not be as kind as Lori after what she's been through. And I worry about your lack of responsible leadership when it comes to handling citizens' complaints, because they could come in here and people can get very angry. I'd also like to speak tonight about the announcements on the beginning of the agenda. These announcements have creeped up on our agenda over time, and I'd like to just clarify what they are. They are, in essence, they are the city's press releases. These are state-sanctioned press releases on what the city thinks is important and should be read out to the city. They change from time to time, but it's a constant repetition of what you think is a press release. The Cotati City's Facebook page is essentially a media piece. It's a mouthpiece for the city to bring forth press releases that the city finds worthy, noteworthy, and interesting to the public and so forth. And thank goodness you're allowing public comment on that so we can stay out of federal court again. But these are press releases. I'd also like to talk about the front page of the agenda. The whole front page was something that I had brought up some time ago that I got so tired of listening to mayors read most of that front page, and I suggested if they would simply list it out in writing and place it on the front page of the agenda. But Councilmember Deloso took me to task on that. And you said, sir, Mr. Barrett, I thought you were so environmentally conscious, this would be a waste of paper. I thought maybe that you would not encourage us to waste paper. Now we've come full circle, and the city is using paper to put on the front of the agenda. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy here, and I think maybe we should clarify that there's one set of rules when it makes you feel one way, and another set of rules when you feel differently. Kind of go flip-flop around on this issue. Also, weed abatement is another issue that you've been skirting for years. This is a public safety issue. You have ordinances in place, and you're neglecting your duty to follow through on that. Also, the video recording of the meetings are not the official meeting minutes of our meetings, but they've become an integral part of clarifying and being used as evidence on what's being said here and what's actually going on. And you need to get this right. Okay, we spent a lot of money on this. You're paying a yearly management fee, and you can't get this right. I can't operate a business like that, sir. And I'm just asking you to please give this your utmost attention to rectify this. This is becoming an old problem. Thank you and good luck tonight.
Thank you very much. Did you have anything for consent?
Maybe later, sir.
Okay, well, now's the time to speak on consent. So if anybody, Ms. Alderman, if you could let us know which item you're speaking to.
I'm hoping I actually can just use 30 I had 30 seconds of my citizen comment, and this is just something everybody keeps coming up to me and saying, why is this Cotati station bathrooms locked? Why is after spending all this money on our citizens, for 6 months now, it's been locked. And even though all the people coming over from Rohnert Park, it is full, but they're out there at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning freezing because they can't get in the station. So I just wanted to address that.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at citizens' business? All right, seeing no one, I'll go ahead and close the public comment and bring it back to council and or staff. There's a couple of outstanding questions out there. This is the first I've heard, I guess, related to the Rohnert Park station, that they're charging over there, and I had not heard that. That sounds like it's getting a little problematic for Santero Way.
It's, since SMART started operations, they've charged at the Rohnert Park station. It's because SMART built and owns and operates that parking lot in Rohnert Park. And the parking lot in Cotati was built and is owned and is operated by Sonoma County Transit. So to date, Sonoma County Transit hasn't been interested in putting a fee on parking there. It sounds like the concern, though, was that if there was a fee imposed, that it would push the cars out into the street.
Out into the street is kind of what she was implying, yeah, and
Yeah.
that makes quite a bit of sense. So,
But the latest conversations with Sonoma County Transit is they have no interest in charging for parking there.
okay, were there any other comments or questions? Councilmember Harvey?
Well, I just want to assure the speaker about Santero Way that is something that we talked about long and hard, and that's why there is a parking management plan that will be put forward, because in the whole time that all of the project was going through the process, parking came up over and over and over and over again. So we know that it is a problem. We know that parking spaces are being added. We know that there's some stuff being, staff is going to change that, so that's fine. But we do know that it's a problem. It's a very important point that was brought up, that if we decided to charge at the station, that could only make it worse. So we do really need to think about that. We will be adding more spaces there as part of this development, which also will help. But we recognize that parking is a problem, and there were multiple solutions that were suggested. One of them being possible permits for residents, but until we actually get that project a little bit farther. So hopefully you will stay in touch with the project. Yes, Vicki.
If I could, I just want to clarify, because the final agreements are on the agenda tonight, that the parking management plan for the project itself does not address parking in the public way. That's just on-site management to make sure it doesn't exacerbate the on-street parking. So it may be that long-term there needs to be a permit system or something for the public right-of-way, but that's not part of the project's requirements. It's a fine line of distinction, but I didn't want anybody to...
It is a fine line, but I know that we talked about it in length on that, and we all know that Santero Way has a horrendous parking problem.
Yeah, I think it's an issue for definitely to continue discussions.
We'll come up with something.
Anyone else with any comments or questions from citizens' business?
No, the only other thing I was questioning was, I thought that we had gone over previously, time and time again, regarding the weed abatement issue, and that it was a policy of the Rancho Adobe Fire District for the abatement on that. Could you clarify that for me?
Sure, yeah, we have talked about it numerous times. So the Rancho Adobe Fire District has the primary responsibility for weed control in the fire district boundaries, which includes Cotati.
That's what I thought. Thank you very much for the clarification and the remuneration of that.
Sure, one more, please.
Do we know what is wrong with the audio on the tape?
Right.
So we have the company that streams our video and audio. It was Excella, now it's Granicus. They just were purchased recently by a new company. And so Lauren did obviously know about it immediately and checked into it. And the issue was on the software vendors side. So apparently even private industry makes these mistakes. So anyway, it's an issue that they've told us that they can't resolve. I don't believe there's an update to that.
Yeah, on this video, it's not able to be corrected. So unfortunately, the audio loss is going to stay that way. But they are, while they're in this transition, they are fully focused on making sure that our future meetings are up and running.
And I will just add, I mean, it was mentioned during comment, but these are not the official record of the meeting. They're convenience videos of the meeting. So from a Brown Act perspective, there's no concern. It's just a, obviously we want it to function correctly because that's the intent.
So did we get any complaints on that from that last meeting?
Ms. Alderman, I believe, complained.
And so the two people complaining were here at the meeting present, and so they know what was said.
That's my understanding.
Thank you.
All right, anything more on citizens' business from council? All right, we'll move on to item 10, which is the consent calendar. We have 3 items on consent.
Move to approve.
I'd second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on any of the items? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, that's a 4-0-1 vote. Thank you. And we are at item 11, which is direction on future agenda item. Do we have any items to bring up? Councilmember Harvey?
Well, we'll have a possible item. I just want to, I'll talk a little bit more about it in council reports, but we possibly will need to talk about the funding for the Santa Rosa Plain groundwater sustainability. That may have to come back to the council. Some of the things that were being looked at for possibilities for funding through getting the plan don't look like they're going to be viable. So since it'll be a couple years worth of funding, we may need to all join in and fund. The good news is that it was suggested that we possibly not have to pay an equal portion, which I think would make it a lot more acceptable to us, but that will probably be decided later, but that suggestion was made, so that was helpful, but we'll have to bring that back.
All right, thank you. Anything else on that? No? Anyone else with any future agenda items?
No, not
No. All right, then we are going to our regular agenda, item 12, and the first item is preliminary fiscal year 2018-19 sub-regional wastewater treatment system budget and allocation of costs. Mr. Scott. He's nodding his head to get support. That's good. No, that's good.
It's a team effort here. The city is a member of the Santa Rosa Subregional Wastewater Treatment Plant group. We have a sewer collection system, but we do not have a treatment plant. So we have entered into agreement with the city of Santa Rosa for terms and conditions for our being allowed to continue to have our sewage treatment treated at their plant. And these include the charges that are imposed on us for the operations and maintenance and the capital projects to renew and provide capacity and so forth. So with us tonight is Kimberly Zanino, thank you, with the city. Kimberly has given us the TAC group. There is a technical advisory committee that on an annual basis receives presentations from the city staff on for the proposed budget for the upcoming year. And then the TAC is made up of staff from the member agencies, the City of Cotati, Sebastopol, Rohnert Park, and there's a South Sanitation District that also contributes to the plan. That recommendation from the TAC goes to the BPU, and then the BPU takes it to the Santa Rosa City Council. So it's a lot of numbers here coming up. This is a big part of the city's sewage charges to our citizens. It's about 80% of our fee is this. And just to cut to the quick, we have a 5% increase in our rates from our study that we did, the financial nexus study for the rate model, and that is consistent with the 5% being proposed for a fiscal year 18-19. But I'll let you take it away at this point.
Great.
As Mr. Scott said, I'm Kimberly Zanino from the City of Santa Rosa. I'm the Deputy Director of Water Administration, so I handle the budget for the Water Department in Santa Rosa. And I will go through the contributions for this year. So the sub-regional system, as Mr. Scott mentioned, is 5 partners. It is Santa Rosa, Rohnert Park, Cotati, Sebastopol, and the South Park Sanitation District. Those 5 partners contribute to the funding for the expenditures at the plant, and the plant is run by the City of Santa Rosa. It is governed by a sub-regional agreement that we all entered into in 1975, and there have been several amendments to this point to accommodate changes in capacity. Every year we meet with the Sub-Regional Technical Advisory Committee. We also meet with the Board of Public Utilities Subcommittee, Budget Subcommittee, and then the Board of Public Utilities, and then we bring it all forward to the Santa Rosa City Council. Santa Rosa has had a rough year this year, and so our budget cycle has been filled with many changes, many uncertainties, and we have still continued to have all of the meetings. We've actually had more meetings this year than we would typically have to try to resolve multiple issues that are going on. None of those are related to the sub-regional budget. However, because we had that opportunity, many times we addressed and talked to, especially the budget subcommittee, about the sub-regional contributions. We met with them 4 times. We met with the full BPU 3 times, the sub-regional technical advisory committee 3 times, and then the next step will be to bring it to City Council on May 1st. Typically, we give you the preliminary approval by May 1st. However, with the timing, the condensed budget cycle this year due to the fires, and the fact that originally they were not having a meeting tonight, it's actually scheduled for May 1st so that we can give you the information on May 2nd. So first I will talk about the expenditures. Here we are outlining for you what the funding for the Laguna Treatment Plant accomplishes. It is to treat wastewater, to produce and distribute recycled water, to also address biosolids disposals.
We also, with these processes that we go through, it is to keep compliance with our NPDES permit and air quality regulations that are also required at the plant, and then as well as disposal permitting and reporting activities associated with hazardous waste. As a quick recap of the budget this year, city staff has worked very hard to keep the operations budget flat this year. So we have looked at historical expenditures, and we have looked line item by line item to make sure that we are budgeting as tightly as we can this year so that we can bring those operating expenditures to flat and not have an increase in the operations and maintenance budget this year. We are increasing the cash-funded CIP, and I'll talk a little bit about that project that's increasing the cash-funded CIP. And then debt service allocations are down this year. This slide just gives you a distribution of the type of expenditures for the sub-regional budget. We have also provided for you some detail, so some line item detail for you so that you can see by category the expenditures for the operations and maintenance budget, and you can see where things are increasing or decreasing. This is a slide that gives you by type the funding that will be going into the cash-funded CIP this year. As I said, we are increasing the cash funding, and you can see that largest slice of the pie says UV disinfection. The UV system allows us to meet our regulatory requirements, and it is nearing the end of its useful life. So the first phase of the UV disinfection replacement is actually a diversion project. So it's a project that will allow us to divert any water that is underneath compliance regulations back through the plant so that it can be retreated so that we can make sure that it is meeting all compliance. So it's a very important project, and it's important for us to get this project started, and that's why we're increasing that this year. So before I move on to how the allocations are determined and distributed, I thought I'd stop here and let you ask any questions about expenditures.
Any questions from council? I'll start at this end.
Not yet, no.
Councilmember Harvey, yes, please.
We know that the water system, because of the fires, had some damage to infrastructures. Was there any damage to any infrastructure from the fires with the?
Not the sub-regional system.
Not the sub, oh, okay.
We do have damage in the wastewater system. We have some lift stations that were not destroyed but damaged severely, and so those will have to be fixed. We have then the contamination issue, obviously, that's going on, and some other fire damage related as well. Our CIP bill this next 2 years will be quite significant.
Thank you.
But not the sub-regional
But not,
side.
okay.
The
I just
sub-regional
wasn't
side
sure if
that
there was
has no
any damage in that too.
And they're not seeing anything that's affecting the flows. So even with, the debris and things that come from the fire, nothing is increasing any of the need at the plant as far as treatment goes. We're meeting compliance, and we're not seeing any big differences there.
Well, that's good. Thank you.
Just a real quick question too on the UV disinfection. Is that a phased-in project, or is that like a total cost at 7.2?
That is just the very beginning phase of it.
It is.
There is a much larger project that comes along with it. That's the first phase, though, that will keep us safe while we're getting ready to do the rest of the project.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, what's the life of those UV systems? And then they're
Is that 20 to 25 years?
And then they're just ineffective?
If you could just, you might as well just come on up.
So this is Mike Prinz. He is actually the deputy director, and he is in charge of the sub-regional plant.
Good evening. Essentially, the technology evolves, and replacement parts become more expensive if they're even supported by manufacturers. So our system is approaching 25 years of age, and the technology has come a long way. Newer systems are also cheaper to operate. They tend to be a lot more efficient from an electrical standpoint. The UV disinfection system is one of the most energy-intensive operations at the plant. So getting a new system that will be more efficient is also a big benefit as well.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So now I will move on to the allocation or the contribution from each one of our partners. The majority of the budget is funded by the sub-regional partners. However, there is a tiny piece that are miscellaneous revenues that do come into the fund, and those are taken off the total operation and maintenance that is then distributed among the partners. To determine what the total cost of operations and maintenance is, and CIP, because CIP is also included in here, we take into account the operating funds or the total cost of operation of the plant, any additions that may be needed to keep our operating reserve at the 15% required amount per policy. And then we also take off then, as you can see at the very bottom there, we less the revenue, which is about $2.9 million this year. The division of the operating costs and the CIP costs is based on actual flow into the plant. So each partner is charged by the percentage of flow that comes into the plant for a full year of flow. So it's a previous year that we use. So once we get that full year, it is actual measured flows. So as you can see here, Cotati's portion is 2.19% of the total flow. This slide gives you a breakdown of the separated out cost in total for all of the 5 partners, and then each piece, which is Cotati's piece of that contribution. The one piece here that you didn't see on the last slide, which is included in your total contribution, is debt service. Debt service is not done by a flow ratio. So debt service is determined by the rate schedules that are set up when the debt is incurred. So those are all set up by agreement. When we incur debt, all of the partners sign on for that debt as well, and then there's a schedule, and so it stays to that schedule. It's not based on any flow numbers. And you can see that Cotati's contribution goes up by $116,000 this year. This gives you a picture of total contributions for all of our partners. So you can see what each of our partners is contributing. It will show you the 27-18 contribution, the difference dollar-wise for each one of the contributions, and then the percentage increase. And you can see that Cotati's is 6.9% increase this year. So there are undesignated funds in the sub-regional fund. And so what happens is each year the partners determine the amount of those funds that they would like to apply towards their contributions so they can basically smooth their rate. This smooths your contribution down to 5%, which fits inside of your already planned rate structure. So then it keeps you from not having to have an up and down with your customers. You know exactly where you're sitting at this point. This also shows you that with the application of those funds, how much is left as a remainder in that reserve. I do also just want to point out that that does not touch any of the reserves that are required per the policies. So as a recap, the operation and maintenance budget is flat this year. I say flat, it's 0.4%, but with turn back it will end up being flat or actually slightly under probably when we get to the end of next year. The CIP is increasing as I discussed. Debt service is down. And all of the partners, except for Santa Rosa, are applying enough of the reserve in order to smooth their contribution to just a 5% increase to meet all of the contributors or the partners' rate increases that they have in place. And with that, we are really here just to recommend that you receive the informational report, all the information that we've given you tonight, and to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Great. Thank you very much for that presentation. So why don't we see if there's any, first of all, before you leave the dais, any quick questions from council? Then we'll open it for public hearing, then we'll come back to council. So Councilmember Skillman, any questions?
No, thank you for the line-by-line breakdown, too. That helped make the numbers make more sense in my head, so thank you.
Councilmember Moore?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. Councilmember Harvey?
I'm okay right now.
Everybody's okay right now. So you're welcome to take a seat again. I'll open the public hearing, and then we'll bring it back.
Is this an action item?
this is not an action item, we're receiving the report, correct? Yeah. So any public comment? They're both nodding no, so okay. Then we're bringing it right back to council. Any questions for our staff at this point? I'll start at this end. I know I heard you open your mouth, sorry. I'm just trying to balance it out. Councilmember Harvey.
No questions, but I appreciate this. I think the first time we've ever really gotten this much detail, and it's really helpful to kind of understand. As you pointed out, it's a big portion. So thank you for working with Santa Rosa to bring that information to us. It is helpful and appreciated.
Councilmember Moore.
No, I'm just glad that we're able to stabilize and keep it at the 5%. Keep everything flowing.
So to speak. Thank you very much. Councilmember Skillman, any further questions or comments?
No, just thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you both to staff and to the City of Santa Rosa. I appreciate that. I think the most important, I mean, the bottom line is that I went to and reading the staff report was, there's not going to be an increase in ratepayers' rates. It's like, okay, really good starting point. Let's take the rest of the information in. So thank you all for that. Appreciate it. Okay, we will move to the next agenda item under regular agenda item 12B, resolution accepting the city's fiscal year 18-19 SB1 list of projects as required by the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017.
It's a big night for Mr. Scott.
It is.
All right, Craig Scott, Public Works Director, City Engineer. With passage of SB1 in August 2017, the city has an annual process now to pass a resolution including identifying projects, a project list for use of the SB1 funds. And it was a partial year last year, so we came in with a deadline of October 17th. And this year it's more on track with the guidelines establishing May 1st every year as the deadline to do this. And so subsequent to the council's considering the project list tonight, the staff would take that resolution and submit it to the California Transportation Commission so that we would then continue to be eligible for those funds. Those funds come to us either on a monthly or quarterly basis, and last year was a partial year. We had $40,000, which was included in our budget, and then this year we're anticipating to get just over $120,000. It's not a lot of money, but added to the other funds for local money from our general fund, it does help us out. There was some mention of the city's strategy on addressing city street repairs in our workshop last week. If you remember, our city manager mentioned that we want to get a more programmed approach. So we have a 5-year CIP, and each year, instead of trying to determine what our project is, just to say, okay, what's next on the list? And we just go that way for 5 years and then generate another 5-year CIP. And then in addition to making that a smoother process, we're only doing that testing and evaluation sort of once every few years rather than every year. And we do have a tool available to us, which is every couple of years we do this pavement management program, which involves someone inspecting every single segment of our streets. Our streets are broken down into blocks, if you will, and each one is looked at and given a rating. And that's a good first step, but it's a long way from going from that report to actually getting a set of construction drawings and building something, because they tend to be scattered all over the city. And so this year we're good. We're actually, last year's project is, I'm talking overall city project of about $1.5 million. And then this SB1 is going to be an identified section of that. Last year is kind of bumping up into the next year just because of the way the fiscal years straddle the summer building season. So that's what's going on this year. And the SB1 project is there's a figure attached to the resolution. We're looking at a section of Lincoln Avenue from LaSalle to easterly to the city limits, and it's about a 725 feet of center line that we can use as SB1. That's how far we can stretch the $120,000. We would, just for the economy of scale and to be efficient, we will be combining that with our other project. The law says, okay, if you put, you can't use it to replace your local funding of it. So the way we do that is have the resolution, make sure we identify it separately in the budget, and identify it separately, you know, and let them know, hey, this is our intention. This is where we're going to use those funds. Because what the state does is it wants to go ahead and promote its program, saying, hey, it works, and they'll take this information and produce it so people can see statewide the impact of this legislation. At this time, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to respond to any questions.
And we did indeed have, during the budget hearing, we did indeed see separate line items, which included this one all by itself.
Correct.
Right, so we're moving in the right direction. That's great. Thank you. Any questions for staff? I see none. Any comments from the public or questions from the public? I see none there. All right, then let's bring this back for some movement.
I would move that we adopt a resolution adopting a list of projects for fiscal year 2018-19 funded by SB1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
$165 a foot.
Thank you for that calculation. Appreciate that. This is a stimulating number. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, show that a 4-0-1 vote. Thank you very much. And we will now go to item 13, the city manager's report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, members of the council. So if you were out and about this morning, you would have seen many cops around. And if you were wondering why, it's because it was our turn as a city to have a site event, combined intensive traffic enforcement, known by the so clever acronym SITE. And we had police officers from the CHP, Runner Park, and Santa Rosa, as well as, of course, our own Cotati PD, participating from 8 to 11 this morning. And the stats from that period of time are that there were 64 vehicles stopped, a total of 52 citations were given. And violations range from speeding, equipment violations, distracted driving, and our downtown truck ordinance with weight restrictions. So it was, I saw many myself actually this morning as I was driving around, and it was successful, so that's good. It's going to rotate to another city next month, and it just does that countywide. It's a voluntary thing that the different agencies work with each other to help with traffic enforcement and to keep all of our collective roads safer, hopefully, and remind people not to drive crazy. And then also wayfinding. So our next workshop will be held Wednesday, May 2nd at 7 p.m. right here in these council chambers. And at this workshop, we will review the draft components of a wayfinding master plan and evaluate different sign options. So be there or be square. It'll be good.
Yes, I do have a question. Thank you for asking. Did you just say 7 p.m.?
7 p.m.
Okay, I thought it was at 6:30. Nobody knows for sure.
But
we'll follow up on that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Stay tuned, but I believe it was 7. And then also Your Sweet Expectations, which is a dessert business in our downtown. I just thought it'd be worth noting they're on La Plaza Street, in case anyone wasn't aware. But they were awarded the best tasting at the annual Art of Dessert Gala. So, I mean, we already kind of knew that because we unfortunately eat there too often, I think, but they're very good. And this event was held April 7th and included confections from Sonoma County's best dessert makers. And apparently they had celebrity judges, who I have no idea who these people are, but apparently they're celebrities in some circle of people. Mark Stark and Charlie Palmer. Apparently, so there you go, it's a celebrity. Our city attorney knows that person. I have no idea who these people are. But anyway, apparently they're celebrities in the dessert world. And they chose Sweet Expectations Meyer Lemon and Blueberry Cake as the winner from a distinguished pool of contestants. And just congratulations to Carolyn, the owner of Sweet Expectations. That's pretty cool. And I'll also note that this is in addition to Sift, our other dessert bakery in Cotati. That was the winner of Cupcake Wars on Food Network several years ago, and also is in numerous publications in both print and online. So we seem to be quite the center of dessert for some reason. Yeah, and then it was mentioned a little bit that there was this Rotary event for one of our proclamations. Dustin mentioned it, that he, for various categories of awards. So for Cotati, we had one of our officers there, Officer Wardell, and the Rotary is honoring people in various fields for their outstanding work. And in the field of public safety, Officer Tyler Wardell was recognized for Cotati for his work in keeping our streets safer by his outstanding work around DUI enforcement. So in the last year, he's been on quite a tear with DUIs, stopping DUIs. And so that was really notable. Actually, he has another thing later this year with MAD, who's also honoring him for his DUI work. So he's been doing a great job with that. And when the chief was introducing him, I know he's been with us for a while, but I hadn't quite realized how long. It was kind of shocking to me because before he was an officer here, he was a volunteer. He went to school at SSU and he volunteered in the Cotati PD while he was finishing his criminal justice degree. And then he went to the academy, and then he came back to us as an officer, and I think it was something like 8 years. He's 6, okay, right? It's like the fishing story. It's already becoming, anyway, 6 years, but still it's been, it's pretty impressive. So he's been here for 6 years, and it was a great job for him. And hot off the press, wayfinding is 7 p.m., just confirming that, on Wednesday, May 2nd.
I had the date right. Thank you.
Yeah. And just an update on the St. Joseph sewer line. That's completed, so you'll be seeing that soon for a notice of completion. And this past Saturday, we held a free children's soccer lesson for the little ones, ages 3 through 6, and we had 13 participants. And this was an introduction to our new program through Bay Area Happy Feet Soccer, and we already have 7 children signed up for the session that officially begins this coming Saturday. So that's great. And then on Saturday, April 14th, we held our first Cotati Community Yard Sale, and it was a great success. We had over 100 people come to the event throughout the day and had a busy Friday night before accepting the donations from the community. And leftover items were donated to a local nonprofit to benefit those in need, and so we're looking forward to doing this again next year. And I will also say that, sorry, Robin, so Windsor also happens to do this community yard sale for the recreation, and I think we raised about half as much as they did, so pretty good for our first year in a much smaller city. So, and we're also currently hiring for our summer camp staff for Camp Cotati. Applications are available on our city website. And summer camp registration is open on our website for over 25 camp offerings. So you better sign up early to ensure your space on those camps. And then lastly, I'll just add that results from our park master plan, public workshops, and companion online survey will be on our website soon, just to show the overall comments that were received both in person at the workshops, but also online. We had, I believe, 39 people that went online to go through the survey, so that was great too. And finally, register for classes or for more information. Like always, you can visit our website or call Ashley Wilson at 222 or awilson@cotaticity.org. And that's about it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions or comments on anything the city manager put out? Councilmember Skillman. Councilmember Moore.
I have a couple on that.
All right.
I did want to recognize the administrative director of the Chamber of Commerce, who was also recognized at the Rotary Awards dinner, so that was very nice, Lisa Bagwell. So that was a nice recognition there. The community yard sale I thought was tremendous. I went by there both Friday night as they were dropping off donations, and then Saturday just to see what the involvement was, and I thought it was very good. So it's nice, again, as Dustin DiMatteo referenced earlier, it's just another component of being part of the community. And is there typically a heads up when you're going to have a site enforcement so that we know? Or is it a surprise to everybody?
Actually, we had a little bit of advance notice, but I was actually shocked to learn that this could even be announced, and it doesn't seem to really matter in terms of the results.
No, I just have a couple of young drivers in the household that let them know.
Right. Yeah, keep it in mind.
You should tell them every weekend night is a site night. They're teenagers. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Harvey.
That explains why I saw two different highway patrol in town, one with a truck being pulled over and one with someone that was speeding down Old Redwood Highway. So I couldn't figure out why they were doing it in town, but now I know. So yes, I saw them pulling people over.
For years I've been saying it's really important that we celebrate our successes, and I was sorry I couldn't attend the evening event through the Rotary Club, but I think the fact that Officer Wardell has received an award and is receiving yet another one, it sounds like a really good human interest story for not only The Voice, but even our social media, putting that out there. I just think, those are important things to talk about, and they'd go unnoticed if we don't report them out. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Always going to preach that celebrate our success part. All right, we'll go on to item 14, City Council member reports. We will start with Council Member Harvey.
Are you sure you want to start down here?
We will start with you, yes.
Okay, well, I was busy. So I attended the Santa Rosa Plain Groundwater Sustainability Agency meeting. We got some feedback, as I said a little bit earlier, on some items on how to fund for the next couple of years. So we have to come to grips with how we want to do that funding. The good news is that all three planes received grants of $1 million, which will help with the funding to create the plan, but it's not going to cover everything, so more to come on that. Two items that came before us were an opportunity to change the boundaries, and the board determined that we had enough on our hands right now than to be adding more to our boundaries, so we said we'll just leave well enough alone. They open up the boundaries apparently about every 5 years, so it's not like it's forever. If we decide we want to change it, we can do that. And then the other item that we have to cope with is right now the administrative staff was being provided by Gold Ridge, and the Gold Ridge staff is out on maternity leave, so we have temporary staff from the water agency. Well, Gold Ridge has decided that after this first year, they do not want to have that job. They don't want that. As it turns out, that was similar in the other two basins too. So all three basins are basically losing. I think what ended up happening is some of these smaller groups thought that they would use their staff as in kind so they wouldn't have to pay funds, but what it has ended up happening is it's taking up more time They didn't think it was going to take up. So anyways, so the suggestion was made that maybe we have one person. It sounded like one person could do all three, so they're going to be looking at that. And as a matter of fact, since Ann Dubé was doing ours, the suggestion was made that maybe she could do it for the next couple of years. So who knows where that will go. So that is the G Sigma. I went to the Waste Management Agency meeting, and that we have a new recycle guide that will be out shortly. Those just came out, and we just provided feedback on the budget. So the budget will come back. We made suggestions on the budget. And on April 12th, I attended the Sonoma County City Selection Committee meeting, and at that meeting, the City Selection Committee selected a member for the LAFCO, and that was Pam Stafford for another 4-year term. And then the new board, the Countywide Oversight Board for Successor Agencies, there was a regular member position and an alternate member, and the board selected Chris Rogers as the regular member and David Cook as the alternate. They each applied for both of them, and Pam was the only one applied for LAFCO. So that was the decision that was made. At mayors and council members that evening, we had, where's my note there? Oh, there it is. We had multiple presentations. We had a presentation on the housing recovery bond that's coming forward in November. And they said that if we wanted that presentation, they were willing to come and share that presentation with all the councils. So I will work with Damien if that's something that we want. And then Suzanne Smith from SCTA came and discussed their moving forward on a different transportation action plan and kind of shifting some of what they're doing there. And then Sunny Galbraith and Carolyn Glanton, they from the Sonoma County Regional Climate Protection Authority, and Leslie Lukakis came and talked to us about zero waste initiatives, and they have some different initiatives on that. So it was a pretty full evening with presentations that night. And then, last but not least, on Friday, there was a march of the Credo students from their high school all the way down East Cotati Avenue, ending here at City Hall. And the mayor spoke to them, and they were recognizing the 19th anniversary of Columbine, and they were pretty incredible. Each of the students had a little sticker about a different shooting that had happened and how many people were injured or not injured of all different places, and they all carried different signs, and they were like all different, the signs. You know, things like I should be reading literature, not eulogies, and, you know, just enough with thoughts and prayers, we need actions, but just all over. I mean, their signs were incredible. And so basically, as was pointed out, there's a lot of work to happen there, and I think that that group, you know, that age group is really going to work hard to, you know, make some kind of changes to that. But they were a pretty impressive group. There was at least a couple hundred of them that marched. So that's all. Sorry.
No, that was good. Thank you very much. Councilmember Moore, any items?
No. No, I too attended the mayors and council members meeting, so I won't reiterate that. We do have a REMIF meeting coming up on Thursday up in Ukiah, and then we have a chamber meeting coming up Tuesday, May 2nd for our next study session.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Skillman.
Thank you. So I was going to start by saying that I was only 15 minutes late getting to my hotel for the last council meeting on April 10th. So it was literally LA traffic that stopped me. And I forwarded a picture to Lauren because the folks at the hotel had actually put our agenda posted on the outside of the hotel as you walked in, so that everybody walking in the front doors saw it. So I was sorry to not telephonically appear as was hoped. So I will catch you up on a couple events. I was at the Lion Club speaker contest on April 7th, and that's always really inspiring to see how much thought and effort these kids put into their presentations. So that was very enjoyable. And then the chicken barbecue on the 8th. And then I also, which isn't strictly a Cotati event, but I could swear I saw some of our police officers there assisting with the Apple Blossom Festival this last weekend in Sebastopol. So I always point that out to my kids, like, hey, see, this is all the officers working to help each other keep the events safe. So that was really a lot of fun. So that is about it for the last couple weeks.
Great, thank you very much. I have little to nothing to report out as far as past meetings. I do have an Ag and Open Space meeting that'll be coming up this Thursday, and next Tuesday we do have another budget study session, correct? And that'll be in this room? Okay. And I'm not going to say it's at 6:30 or 7, but it's somewhere around there. Most likely 7.
Yeah, it's 6:30.
It's 6.
This room.
Yeah, of course. It'll be sometime after 5 p.m. That's great. Okay. All right. We will now move to item 15, public comment on non-action agenda items. Ms. Alderman, yes.
I'd like to address some of the comments on weed abatement and the city manager's report. It's a lack of disrespect you are giving me on my facts, and he is not always right. You guys act like he's always right. He's not. The weed abatement issue, I have been to many Rancho Adobe fire district ones, and we've lived in this city for 45 years. Until 2012, every year we got a city code notice that said for noxious weeds. We have a half acre and back, and then Mark Lemons meets us, and his weeds were always higher than ours, by the way, and he got one too. And then in 2012, I know this from Frank Triner, Diane Townsend goes down to the station, dumps all the weed abatement files on his desk and says, this is your responsibility now. And for the last 6 years, they've been trying to have the city deal with weed abatement to no success. A year ago, the new Chief Thompson contacted Damien. He didn't do anything. He's not right. And you guys always believe every word he says and disregard what I say. I've lived here for 45 years. My family has. You know, I know we had to have those weed abate. We knew they were coming in May, and we chopped down our things because we knew we were going to be fined, or, you know, they come do the thing. You know, that's the realities. Don't treat me like I don't know what I'm talking about, because I do. The disrespect you guys give me is horrible. I'm smart. I know the law, and you guys just act like I'm nothing, and I'm really tired of it.
Mr. Barrett?
Mr. Deloso, thank you for leading the meeting tonight again for the third time. I would like to speak about a possible future agenda item that you should consider. I would like to see, evidently, this whole idea about video recording and the audio and streaming the meetings seems to have been forgotten by a few people here on the council. This whole idea, I'd like to see maybe it reviewed, because we went over the budget on putting the system in, but I think the whole purpose was somehow forgotten about. When Councilmember Moore says essentially no harm, no foul, Mr. Barrett, Ms. Alderman, if you were here, you obviously heard what happened, misses the point entirely. It's completely stupid. Mr. Moore ignores why we record these meetings. It is to include the entire public who are not here tonight to participate in these meetings by listening to them while they're not here, and to have some type of a record down the road that they can come back to. These recordings are vital. Even though they're not, by law, the official minutes of the meetings, they're important evidence for you, as well as the public. When you cut off public speech, like was done either accidentally or intentionally at that April 10th meeting by that podcast, you are essentially squashing free speech. And I'll bet there's court judges that would agree. Soviets never care about public speech. Okay? Remember political theory. That's not what Soviets are about. They're about state speech. They frown down upon public speech, public record, public participation. It makes total sense coming from Mr. Moore. I don't believe that that's what the rest of the council believes. What is said and what is not said in these chambers is evidence in a court of law, or it can be evidence in a court of law. Very, very important. Must we end up in federal court again because we missed these basic precepts of American jurisprudence and the First Amendment to the Constitution? Punitive damages are going to be available next time. I don't want to see this happen. But it's not your money, Mr. Moore. You know, it's somebody else's money. To the Soviet, it's always somebody else's money. Since there are no security cameras in this building, the video and audio recorded in these chambers is vitally important. It's critically important, especially if there's a violent act that goes on in this room. We need that audio. We need that video to help law enforcement. God help us. Mr. Moore, I've heard you say and do a lot of dumb things over the years. I mean, it's really incredible. You owe the community and the city council an apology for your dumbass statements tonight. It goes back to, imagine if we didn't have on the record Mr. Moore's statement that Burt Lathrop's shipping container downtown did not look like shit.
Shitty.
I do want
Okay?
I do want to remind you you're over.
Okay, and thank you, Mayor. I'll wrap up in a couple seconds. That's why these things are important, because people have selective memories, and it's a great tool for you. So please keep that in mind. I would put this on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, so that will conclude public comment on non-action agenda items. And will it be at item 16, information received after the agenda was posted? We have nothing? Then I will officially adjourn our meeting at 8:39.